The United States has just finished a war with Venezuela. There may be a new war in Iran, possibly Greenland as well. So what I thought I'd do in this video is give you guys some predictions with specific key dates on when the next few wars are going to be. You see, at the end of last year, I made the prediction that between January and April, there would be multiple new wars in the world. So what we're going to do in this video is have a look at when these wars are going to be between Jan and April, and then also take a shot at figuring out where these conflicts are going to be as well. And the first thing I want to say is that I'm expecting 5 armed conflicts in this period. The first one is going to be in the first 2 weeks of January, which has already happened. Then in late February, and I'm tentatively looking at the 20th to the 27th. The third conflict I'm expecting in the middle of March, around about the 12th to the 20th. And I think this is going to be the biggest of the 5 armed conflicts. You see, from the middle of March, I'm also expecting a big stock market correction. So the idea that there's a stock market correction and an armed conflict happening at the same time just tells me maybe the two are connected there. This is probably going to be the war that actually rattles the markets. Then from the 10th to the 14th of April is the next armed conflict, and the last one looks like it's taking place between the 20th to the 30th of April. So very simply put, these are the dates where the conflicts happen. Now let's have a go at figuring out where they take place. And this is actually the trickiest thing, at least for me with my track record. Been pretty good over the last couple of years in predicting most of the major wars since the start of this decade. Where I get the details wrong is actually figuring out where they'll be. And the other point I want to make with this is in palmistry and astrology, we can't actually predict the exact location of a conflict, but we can predict the direction in which it happens, based off what we believe is the energetic center of the world. And I believe the energetic center of the world at the moment is India. In a minute, I'll show you guys a case in which we can say the energetic center is also starting to shift into America. But I'll come back to that. Let me tell you about this other prediction I made for an armed conflict to the northwest of India. So one of the predictions I'm going to come out and make is I think there's going to be a new armed conflict taking place in the region between Pakistan and the Middle East. And the timing I'm going to put on this is between December, right now, over till about the end of February. So over these 3 months, we're going to notice a lot of tension in that region, and it's actually going to escalate into a shooting contest between 2 belligerents. So we'll just keep an eye on that. And that prediction was actually wrong, because at this point in time, there was no armed conflict with Pakistan or Afghanistan. Instead, there was an armed conflict to the northwest of India, which was in Ukraine. This is another one of those examples of uncertainty. We got the timing correct, we got the direction correct, but the interpretation of the location was completely wrong. Then I want to show you guys a third example, just to show you how tricky it is with all this uncertainty. A few years ago, I said this, that I'm predicting an armed conflict taking place in the world. And I tentatively want to say it's going to be south to southwest of India. So that's the Africa or Sri Lanka region. Now over the last couple of years, this conjunction has been taking place in different zodiac signs, which led me to predict conflicts in Europe and the Middle East. Now that energy has shifted to south to southwest of India. So for the next few years, we're going to notice conflicts in these 2 regions. And in a few years from now, that energy is going to shift to Southeast Asia, meaning there's going to be conflicts in that part of the world in a couple years from now, 3 or 4 years sort of thing. So if you live in any of these regions, take some caution here. And at the time, the whole world was talking about the Israel-Palestine war, the Russia-Ukraine war. The headlines weren't really talking about any serious armed conflicts in Africa. There were a couple military coups, but no significant conflicts. However, we've just found out there's actually atrocities and genocide that's been going on in this area the whole time. For whatever reason, the mainstream media just hasn't been documenting all this, but the atrocities are so bad, you can actually see some of the massacres and the blood all the way from space. And so the lesson with all of this is, in that particular instance, we got the timing right, we got the direction right, and the location right, but it wasn't in the headlines. No one knew it was going on unless you're outside of that region. So this is where picking the location of conflicts can be very tricky, because when you get it right, you can either get it completely right, you can get the direction right, but the location wrong, you can get all three variables right, timing, direction, location, and still not know about it for a couple years later. Having said that, this is where I think the wars in the first half of 2026 are going to be. So that first conflict is going to be to the south of India or the US. And I'll explain why the US is important in just a minute. The second conflict looks like it's in the north of these two countries. The third conflict is in the north, then the southeast or the northeast, and then the last conflict is to the northeast. Now you'll notice over here I'm talking about northeast of either India or the United States. Both of these countries, I think, are basically the energetic center of the world. For the last couple of years, it was all India. And it was because we could map wars and conflicts off India being like the center of the earth. That's why I was able to make the prediction that India is going through a major boom in my decade cheat sheet. And since that time, the Indian stock market has outperformed most other stock markets in the world. So I'm not that confident on the exact location of where these armed conflicts are going to be, but I'm pretty sure on the timing, and I think I've got a handle on the direction too. So we'll just see how that goes. The other, I suppose, bigger picture thing to have a look at here is that there are two energetic centers of the world again. Used to be during the Cold War, it was Washington and Moscow. Now it seems to be Washington and New Delhi. You'll notice China does not feature in this, at least not for now. That may change in the future. But you can't track world events relative to Beijing or any other center in China. This is important because coming into the future, we've got to look at both India and the United States as the potential next superpowers. But that's a video for another day. For now, let's just get through these armed conflicts first. Thanks a lot, guys.